What is the truth about real estate mentorship, and why do so many agents still struggle even after joining the program?
Welcome to the Open Books Podcast, where we discuss all things real estate, helping you take the road less traveled to real estate success. I am your co-host, Curtis Haddock, alongside Casey Tuter, and it's just us two today.
It's just us. We don't need anyone else.
Yeah, we're going to take this podcast to the next level.
That's right. Well, I think I was listening to a podcast this morning, and the guy said, this isn't really what the episode is about, but it's like the main reason that people don't make it in real estate is because they think that they're in real estate when really they're in lead generation, and they just refuse to admit it. So that's really the problem. So now if we talk about lead generation, it's like, where do you start? And you're watching these videos, listening to these coaches, and they're saying start with expired, start with FSBOs, don't do FSBOs, go to open houses. Open houses don't work. You need to get with your sphere, go out to clubs, go to the bar, and that list just goes on, and you're immediately overwhelmed.
Those are outdated habits from the 90s and the early 2000s. What are you, a dinosaur? Don't do that stuff.
Yeah.
What you need to do is online webinars. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's just so much. There's so much noise, and that noise is not new.
Right.
It just looks different.
Yeah, it changes for sure
now, and so yeah. So today, we're going to talk about how information without implementation creates paralysis. Most definitely, we're going to talk about how copy and paste coaching systems break down when you're dealing with real conversations and real world scenarios. And then we're going to discuss how good mentorship builds independence, not dependency. And that's a good one because, and I'm sure that we'll have plenty of stories to share, but that's an area where even I need to get better at as a coach, and I'm starting to do better about like the questions that I ask, what I'm willing to do and not do, and what I'm making the age. Because in the beginning, you really want everyone to be successful, and so you want to do everything that you can to help them be successful. But the sooner that you can learn someone's work ethic and habits, the better it's going to be for your own mental health. Because if you just start like giving people the answers or doing things for people, then you're going to create a bottleneck for yourself, and they're going to just rely on you to do that every single time. Not everybody, but there's a lot of people that will.
Yeah.
And it's just going to...
And they'll blame you when it doesn't work.
And it's just going to create... it's going to create stressful... It's just going to be stressful for yourself.
I don't think people understand that. Like you teach people how to treat you, and it's like, So, for example, when I was a barber, I had different kinds of clients, and some of them would always be late. They'd always want to do something different with their hair. They'd move their head the whole time. They didn't tip well. And then they would call and go, or they'd cancel last minute. And then they'd go, hey, man, I got this wedding tomorrow. Is there any way you can like clean me up today? And you got a full book, and you're like, no, right. I'm full.
Yeah.
And then you got the other guy who's always on time. If he forgets about his appointment, he Venmos you the money, and then tips apologizes, says, dude, just get me in whenever you can, whenever that is, tips well. And then they want you to squeeze you in. You're like, yeah, man, come on in. Like, yeah. I'll squeeze you in between my next 2 appointments.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same with your agents. Like, they don't care about what they're doing. They sit around all day long, and then they wait till the night to call you, and then they've got this emergency, and it's just like, and then you're thinking like, should I just wait till tomorrow? But then you got other agents who like do everything you tell them to, and then you're at dinner with your family, and they've got they got an important question. It's like you step outside and you take care of them. So people don't understand that though.
Yeah, I mean, and for anyone who's out there who coaches or provides mentorship, that's the agent is our client,
mm-hmm.
and just like when you were cutting hair, those were your clients,
mm-hmm.
and agents, the customer, the buyer and seller, ultimately their client, and they're going to deal with it on a different type of level. And a lot of times it comes down to setting the right expectation, but there are also things outside of your control, because no matter what you say, how you say it, how you communicate it, there's always going to be people that, they're just them. And they're gonna behave a certain way, and it's trying to understand how to navigate that world of how do I provide excellent mentorship and build a quality team, not just a large team, right? So, anyways, the first one is information without implementation creates paralysis. And so
we're done. Next section.
Yeah. So I was gonna. I think that's a really good one, because it kind of goes both ways. We talk about how agents who come in and they just study and they just are looking at the next thing to train on, and they go through the trainings and they don't ever implement it, then they're not going to ever sell anything. They're not going to do the lead. They're not going after leads. Same thing with mentorship. If all you do is provide information and you're just giving all this information, but you're not actually motivating somebody to take action, or you're not taking action with them, then it's just going to cause people to get stuck. And I think I see this all the time for new mentors or coaches or people who are wanting to help new agents come into the field. It's a lot of work to help a new person in this industry.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of effort, and you have to be, as a mentor, you have to be patient, and you have to be willing to let them make mistakes. But it goes back to what you were saying. But if they're doing the things that you tell them to do, they have a good attitude and they're working hard and you can tell, then it's a lot easier to be patient. Right?
Yeah.
And all those things. But whenever I'm training somebody new and giving them all this information, I try to implement it with them. And I find that I have a lot more success with agents when I am forcing them to start implementing it like right then and there.
Yeah.
As opposed to, okay, this is what you need to do. Now go do this whenever you have time, or go figure it out. Like I told you, this is how you call FSBOs, and here's the script, and here's what you got to do. Go do it and let me know how it goes. As opposed to, okay, this is the script. This is how we do it. Here's why we do it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Now, pull out your phone and let's get it done.
I told an agent yesterday morning. It's like he thinks he's going to be writing an offer, and so I said, well, while they're getting approved or getting the pre-approval, I said, well, what you need to do right now is watch the contract writing video.
Yeah.
And so whenever it's time to actually write that offer, I'm going to ask him. And if he hadn't watched it, I'm going to say, well, get with me after you do it.
Yeah, you have to.
And it's like, and now now you're behind because you didn't do what I told you to already.
Yeah. And maybe you promised your clients you were going to get something to them by X amount of time, and now you're stressed because and then they're going to blame you for not being available. And it's like, well, no, because now you put me in a situation where I'm going to have to do the whole thing for you. And
what they don't understand is like, it's like a lot of people, and this is just kind of like, now we're just complaining, but it's like these agents, it's like they don't do a whole lot, especially if they're part-time and they're just starting and they don't have a full-time job. They just kind of wait around, and then they need to do something. Well, now I got to drop everything that I'm doing, and I'm busy.
Yeah.
My schedule's packed, so now I've got to drop what I'm doing. Maybe I was going to make some cold calls.
Yeah.
Well, now I can't because now there's an emergency because you waited around too long.
I want to know how serious the agent is. So as a coach, whenever I bring someone new into my coaching system, into our program, I'm learning what's their level of commitment and how serious are they, and I can test that in a number of different ways. It's okay. So, hey, we need to get together and have one-on-one. Here's my calendar link. Schedule our first meeting as soon as possible. So now I'm testing how long did it take for them to schedule it, how far out are they scheduling it? Because if they put something, I've had people get started and like, man, I really want to get after it. I have money to make, and then they go and schedule it for like 2 weeks from now or something.
Like, well, I got this stuff going on, and I got some family stuff this weekend.
Yes,
like,
I'm super busy, and so let's just look at it, and like that stuff's always going to be going on.
Yeah,
and so it's like, okay, so you're not that like serious. You don't have to get after it because you're willing to wait 2 weeks to get started with your first training, which means what are they going to be doing for those 2 weeks? Nothing.
Or when they want to meet with you to talk about real estate for the first time, they can't meet for 2 weeks, and it's like they're like, sorry, I got a 9 to 5, like, and I'm busy Wednesday nights and all day Sunday, and
how did you expect it?
And then it's like, so is that whenever someone wants to go see a house, you're going to say, well, you're going to probably wait 2 weeks.
I know
you're already done.
Yeah. Done. They don't know it. So
they don't even think. They can't even think
so
that far.
So if you want to have a good mentorship program, you have to test people's commitment levels. Now, listen, you got to also have, again, you got to have patience, you got to have grace, and you got to be willing to work with people.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the stuff they have going on is legitimate, right? It could be like it's just bad timing, or maybe they had a vacation plan, and it's like, go ahead and get onboarded. And get scheduled like right after that.
Yeah.
It depends on the situation. But then let's say they schedule it. Now, regardless of when the schedule is, but that's the first test is how quickly do they schedule it, and when is it? Then it's, do they show up to that? Are they late?
Or rescheduling?
Are they prepared? That's the next test when it comes to like providing mentorship. And so I want to find out, are they serious? Are they committed? And I'll even tell them before that first appointment, because I already know what we're going over that first one-on-one. So then once I get that once that's on the books, I give them homework to do. And I tell them, okay, hey, I need you to go and watch this training. I need you to go sign up for this, this, and this. And then we're going to go over everything else. Okay, that's all I need you to do. Go do that, and it's going to save us a lot of time and get us a lot further when we meet. So, again, I'm testing their level of commitment. And I'll tell you, the people that listen and just go do those things, man, it's wild how fast they can succeed in this industry. Right?
Well, yeah, because I mean, one house sale can get you $10,000, and that's.
But then you got people. That's the next level of commitment when it comes to implementation. Are they paying their dues? Are they getting on the MLS? Are they upping their car insurance to be the appropriate policy amount for driving as a realtor? I mean, some brokerages make you eat your own E&O or your own general liability coverage, right?
Some people just fight everything.
I mean, that's in people's nature,
and that's a problem
for sure. It's not a good quality to have because, like, this is the brokerage is a business. They're running a business, but you are too. You are now a self-employed, independent contractor, and you should see yourself as a professional who's running a business. And I want to know if people get that, and I want to know how serious they are. Because if they're not willing to invest in themselves, then it's back to it's over. It's over. Because it tells me that they don't believe it. They don't believe in it. They don't believe that they're going to succeed. And if they don't believe, why in the world should I believe? And so if you're running a mentorship program or trying to provide coaching to your agents, the first thing is make sure that whatever information you're giving them, that they're able to implement it, and you're helping push them to implement the whatever it is you're training over starting out, and find out what their level of commitment is. Because if they're not committed, then I'm not going to commit. It's 100%.
Yeah, I'll blast Jasleen on here, and I hope she hears it and calls me like, hey, I heard what you said on the podcast, which means she's listening, which is good. But yesterday morning, she texted me and she's like, hey, or it was the night before, it was like late. It was like, hey, I need help running comps with a team member. And I said, she goes like, it's not in a neighborhood. It's kind of difficult. I said, well, I'll call you in the morning. And she wasn't available when I called her because it was pretty early. It was like 8:39. And then we finally got hooked up around 10. And she was just getting out of bed. And I'm like, you know, you're already cutting me, like you're limiting the hours I can help you because you're staying in bed till 10:30 every day.
Yeah.
And then so I can only help you after 10:30. Well, once 10:30 hits, like that's when they say the fires are starting. That's when they need to put out. You got closings, walkthroughs, all those kinds of things. And so like it's the drive, man. And for me, it was like I just needed an opportunity and I needed more money so bad I was going to do anything. It honestly didn't matter what it was going to be.
Yeah.
I was going to do it. And so
make it happen.
When it talked about like showing houses and being available, even though it's full time, I did not know what that was going to look like.
Yeah.
But I remember one of my first clients, my tattoo guy, he's like, hey man, we're ready to look at houses. And I'm like, at that time I had Monday and Tuesdays off. And he's like, well, I don't go until 4 on Tuesday. And I'm like, well, heck yeah. Because I was thinking it's all going to be in the evening.
Yeah.
And I worked 2 evening nights cutting hair.
Yeah.
And so like it just worked out. And then every time I got a client, I just figured out what worked and I did it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just made it work.
Yeah. I mean, I have a similar story in that I had quit my 9 to 5 and had a mortgage to pay and a family. And I'm like, okay, this has to work. Mm-hmm. I don't have a choice. So I backed myself into a corner where it's like, okay, you're either going to sink or you're going to swim. Mm-hmm. And those are the two choices. And if I was going to sink, I was going to be paddling as hard as I freaking could while I sank. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to try to stay above water as long as possible.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, I was able to swim. Right.
Yeah.
And so, but some people, that paralysis that kicks in when they're not implementing things, they're afraid. Mm-hmm. Gosh, what else? I mean, they're afraid. They don't have confidence in themselves. Mm-hmm. They don't believe it's going to work. They're nervous that they're going to get yelled at on if they do cold calls. They're just not buying into what themselves or whatever it is. And when they signed up for school, I guarantee they had a lot of belief that, oh, this is going to be awesome. It's going to be great. That's because they didn't have to do anything but like study. Mm-hmm. It's easy to get excited about something when you're studying, but then when it comes to actually implementing what you studied, and not even what you studied, but after you get your license, implementing that, it's a whole nother mindset and it takes a whole nother level of commitment. So anyways, when you're creating a mentorship program or if you're providing coaching, the beginning and setting the stage is so important. Yeah,
I like whenever they get started and say stuff like, "Well, if this works out, I'll do X, Y, Z," and it's like, "Well, you're already done."
Yeah,
because it's like whenever I get to this point, whenever I make $75,000 in a year, I'll quit my job. Not if I make $75,000, I'll quit my job.
Yeah, well. And also, that's even like a false, like...
You're leaving it to chance.
Well, when you're new, also, you're not going to have $75,000 come like that guaranteed on the books at one time.
Yeah, or the other question, like, how much can you expect me to make a month? They'll ask you questions like that. Or what is the average agent make in a year? I just got that question. I'm like, dude, I'm not even going to answer that question because... You can look it up like on Indeed or whatever. It's like $65,000.
Yeah.
But 71% of agents didn't sell a house last year, which means they made zero.
Yeah.
Which means all the ones that made millions of dollars average that out to $65,000 a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's not a question in a commission based only job.
For sure. And I forgot where I was going with what I was saying. It'll come to me probably.
It'll come to
me. But let's move on. Let's move on to the next one. Again, if you're building a mentorship program, again, starting with setting the expectations and the beginning and having learning that someone's commitment is so important. And I would rather have, and you tell me what you would rather have. Oh, I remember where I was going to go with this, actually. I would rather have, like let's say I'm just starting out. I would rather have 2 solid, amazing, producing agents that I want to be around, good character, they do the right things, over having 10, just not good agents, but equal the same volume, right? Let's say that those 10 agents equal the same volume, but they're doing a lot less. Maybe 2 agents that do, let's say 10 deals each, just starting out, right? That's 20 deals, but they're building the right habits, they're doing the right things, versus having 10 agents that do 2 deals each, but they're not doing the right things, they're causing problems, they're doing it their way, they're giving you headaches. And I wouldn't even say, if you had that, it's not going to be 10 agents that do 2 deals each. You're probably going to end up with 8 agents that do 0, and then the same 2 agents that
right.
do the 10. And so you have to be willing to, I think, even trim your team and trim your roster, and get rid of some of that stuff, the people that are going to bring you down, bring your brokerage down, bring your team down, and lower your quality and your expectations. But we have an industry, and what I was going with this is that this is why the industry has what you just said, 70% of agents that don't even sell a house, is because brokerages, they just bring them in, they charge a monthly fee, and they're fine with it because they know that most of these agents aren't going to do anything, and they don't provide real legit mentorship programs, because they get a lot of these agents that come in, they don't figure out the level of commitment first. And so they just assume, okay, well, the people that are going to make it are going to make it, and the people that don't aren't. And so there's so many people that just, like, people out there, most brokerages, I'll tell you right now, if you're a new agent looking for mentorship, it's going to be really hard to find a good mentorship program.
Yep.
It's almost like you're going to have to pay for coaching somewhere.
It's like finding a good woman.
Right. Yeah. It's just really difficult, because people have just given up on that concept with when new people coming in, and they only want to coach people that once they've already found some success, because that has told them that they have some level of commitment.
Yeah.
So people don't know how to, brokerages and leaders don't know how to develop good agents or figure out that level of commitment early on. It's almost like the agent has to prove themselves, and then they'll step in and start helping.
And that's why a good rev share company will start you out at 50%, because they have to make sure that they get paid while you're trying to figure all this out.
Forget a good rev share company, a good brokerage.
Well, yeah, period.
And I don't even care what they start you at. A good brokerage will have a mentorship / coaching program that can be implemented, regardless of your skill level or experience. And that actually takes us into the second thing, is that copy and paste coaching, it breaks down in real conversations. And so what you see and why things are breaking down is the first part we talked about, but also they want to build this like one size fits all program that you can just plug somebody in, and you don't adjust to that person's skill set or personality and things like that. And so you have to be able to coach people on a wide variety of activities. I'm a big believer in introducing them to all of the different activities, and learning which ones they're going to thrive in or be more comfortable doing. Because you have people that legitimately, cold calling will just burn them out so fast. It drains their energy. They have absolutely zero interest, right?
Lead generation, that's what.
But they're great. They're great with their network, or they're great at open houses.
Yeah, open houses.
And so you need to try to figure out how to coach them and train them on those things. But you also will have agents that could be really good at the cold calling. But they'll tell you, oh man, I know cold calling's not my thing. I don't really like it. It's not really something that I just hate it, you know. But it's an excuse to not have to cold call, and so trying to figure that out is so important. Like, is this really a personality, like strength and weakness thing, or is it an excuse? And the only way to figure that out is to do the activity with them and see how they do.
Yeah.
And see what their skill set is, see how they respond to it. And they might respond and do really well with it, but then they're just like, they tell you, I don't want to make the calls. I don't want,
Yeah.
You got to figure that out.
I think a big problem is like, I've studied a lot about like indoctrination, in our education system and how they trained us to be doers and not thinkers. And, I think a lot of this is to blame to that, because we were taught to just basically fall in line and memorize the worksheet and pass the test. And I think, subconsciously, that's what people are hoping for in real estate. I come in, I get a job, people just come to me, and I just kind of repeat the same thing over and over. But you have to constantly adapt and learn and think. And like what I'm doing right now is I'm spending an hour or more a day trying to learn AI and adopt it, because I know that agents that don't use it are just going to be left in the dust. And so it's like, I don't enjoy that, but I'm going to do it because I know it's important, and it's very frustrating.
Yeah.
And so I do think that's part of what people are they're just kind of ignoring the fact that you have to be a thinker.
Yeah.
And a doer.
Yeah. You gotta do both. But especially when it comes to, like, from the perspective again of providing a coaching platform or a mentorship platform, you have to be able to figure out people's strengths and weaknesses and apply them. Because here's a great example. I think that, and I'm guilty of this, what I'm about to tell you. I think that agents who provide coaching, they have found, and you see this when in advertisements, when people are trying to sell you something, they found something that worked for them and they did really well with it and built their business out of it. And so that's the thing that they teach and that they push. And like, this is how you build real estate, right? And it's like super laser focused on this one or two things, right? But there's a plethora of other ways that people can build their real estate business. And you, as a good coach, is going to know those things. And a good mentorship program is going to include all of those things. And we have seen that in our own brokerage, where I have had agents that I have trained them on FSBOs, expireds, open houses, and their sphere of influence, and try to get them to, and these are people like, man, I really want to make it. And, they're not really doing the things that they need to, for sure. Because on all four of those things, you should be able to find one of them. There's a money-making activity for every type of personality, right? And they don't make any sales. And then all of a sudden, they go into the Zillow Leads program, and they start getting these leads. They don't have to take the risk of paying for them. They're part of a team that we have that provides them these leads. And so all of a sudden, I've seen people go from zero success and years of no success to now they got multiple transactions going, deals under contract. They're picking up listings. And it's all because of this different money-making activity that they were introduced to, that we didn't hold them back from going and getting, And I think that if we get laser focused on, hey, this is how I built my business, so this is how you have to build your business, you're setting people up it's a disservice to the agent, because you got to learn who they are and put a program around their strengths. Yeah. Not just put them into a system and see if it works. So I'm very, very guilty of that.
Oh, sure.
For sure. So anything to add on the copy paste?
Well, yeah, I want to talk about scripts and systems are helpful. I I used to kind of be like anti-script because it's more about connecting, which I think is also true. And I am good at connecting with people. But I heard a guy say, it's like, man, everything is a script. Like if you're in a room with someone you don't know what to talk about, you're like, did you watch the Thunder game last night? It's like, that's a script.
Yeah.
Like you have that planned when you don't know what to say, or how's the weather, but it's like using those scripts and taking those scripts isn't just a copy and paste thing. You take it, but you have to kind of make it yours.
I would go as far as saying that, connection is the most important thing when it comes to prospecting. However, there are people that if you can give them a good script, they'll be able to then go connect with somebody.
Well, a good script is built around psychology. And this is what I've learned about the scripts just the last few years. I think just naturally I was kind of good at this with people, but the script is like what we hear, like Ben say all the time, is like, hey, would it be okay if I asked you a question before you hang up on me? And they go, yes. Well, they just gave you permission to ask them a question instead of you just saying, hey, are you the owner of blah, blah, blah? Are you willing to list with me?
Yeah.
And it's like that just doesn't go. So there's all these like little psychological tricks by using good scripts anyways.
Yeah. And I think that, like to me, I don't really, I'm not a big script. Well, actually I kind of am a big script person. However, I always tell people fit it to your personality, and
you have to.
The way that you do that is you need to know what the point of the script is.
Yeah.
What is the goal?
Like getting the permission.
Yes. What is the goal? What is this? Like I like to even have steps and stages of the conversation, because I don't know how long. Like we could have a perfect script laid out. Well, what if the customer doesn't follow it perfectly? They're not gonna follow it perfectly.
And that's whenever people are like, I don't know what to say.
Right. And so, but if you break it into segments and understand what the goal of each segment is, whenever the customer breaks the script, you can respond, but get it back on track to get what you need out of that segment, and then move on to the next part of the script or the segment, and then figure that out, right?
And you have, again, like what I said earlier, you have to be willing to learn and adapt. If you just, and that's what people, again, aren't willing to do, because they'll call one time and then they get stuck on a rebuttal or an objection, and then they're like, well, that didn't work. And it's like,
or they'll keep going, but they didn't take the time to figure out how they could have overcome that. Mm-hmm. And that's huge too.
Yep.
Anyways, let's move on to our last part of this episode. Good mentorship builds independence, not dependency. And I think that a lot of what we've talked about already can attest to this. Like what you're wanting to do, if you're going to coach and mentor other agents, you don't want to build a program, and I'm guilty of this too. This is just learning from experience. You don't want to build a program that creates a bottleneck where everybody feels like they need to come to you for the answers, right? You want to teach people how to think for themselves and go find the answer, so that they now are independently strong without you, and you are building them up to become that. They come to you for the answers in the beginning, or maybe they're super experienced and they come to you for the answer. You need to not give them the answer. You need to you need to tell them how to go get the answer.
Yeah.
Or ask questions on what they've done to try to find the answer. Because if you create a bottleneck and everyone has to come to you, well, then you've just limited your ability to coach X number of agents. You can only fit in a few agents at a time. That's it.
Yeah.
So important.
Yeah. Coaching is hard in that way. It's like you get an agent who's like, I'm sure you've got this. I get an addendum with some verbiage on it. And the only thing that this person texted me was thoughts. It's like, thoughts on what?
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? I need some context. Or the opposite. Okay, dude, That's way too much information.
Yeah.
What's the question?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
so, but that's learning how to coach people too.
Well, and learning each individual person
Uh-huh.
and figuring out, like, we have an agent that provides too many details, and so
There's a spider. That's why I keep looking there. It's right here. No, it's on the couch.
Oh, really?
It's like as long as he doesn't.
I didn't even notice that you.
It's
could
our
look
guest.
in. Oh, nice. Oh, yeah, I see it.
As
now.
long
I
as he
saw it
doesn't.
moving.
As long as he doesn't climb on me, I'm
Yeah.
good. I keep checking him out.
We have somebody who's like that, and I've learned, okay, hey, what's the question? And then I'm going to tell you if I need all the details.
Yeah. Well, here's the problem.
Yes.
All right, now let's talk about the context.
Yes, yes. And I'll ask the questions that I need to know.
Uh-huh.
And I have to be careful which questions I ask, because then that could provide, let me give you the background on the answer to this part of it, and it's just like, hold on now. Let's slow down. But no, I think both of those scenarios are very, very likely to happen the more and more that you coach.
Yeah, and let's talk about the Zillow platform. This, good mentorship builds independence, not dependency. We're actually using Zillow to help with mentorship, training these agents, getting them leads, getting them in the field, getting them the experience they need. So I try not to sound like I'm trashing the Zillow when I'm speaking to agents about it. I don't want them thinking I'm trashing it. What I'm trying to get them to understand is you don't have to give up all your commission forever, and you shouldn't. Do not become dependent on that system, because you'll become you're basically going to be an employee and a door opener for buyers, and pretty much buyers only. So, and all I mean by this is when you get that buyer lead that you're going to give up a majority of your commission for, build a really good relationship with them. Do not just open the doors for them. Really learn as fast as possible how to coach them, how to help them make good decisions during the process, and educate them. And then ask them every time you talk to them if they know anyone that's buying or moving, or buying or selling. Because if you do that, then if they refer you their friends that are buying, then you don't have to pay Zillow a commission for it.
Yeah.
And you can learn to start building your business. And at some point you can say, you know what, I'm too busy to take these Zillow leads where I give up too much commission.
Yeah. I mean, you want to build to a referral-based business. And the Zillow lead program for a lot of people is a great, great program to get into. There's a lot of people that maybe will end up watching this that are like, no, it's not, it's awful. And like, that's their mind. And it's
we've seen it.
It's a love-hate with Zillow for sure. But I can tell you just from experience that they absolutely have the best lead program if you can get into it and get into the right one. And I say that I think that the leader who provides it also has a big part in the success of these agents, because I don't think anybody can just go get Zillow leads and find success. It all comes down to who's leading them on that side of it, who's leading them on the mentorship side of it as well. It all comes to get together. But like, what I like about the Zillow program is that they don't. When I see people who do trash the Zillow leads and what they say, I'm like, oh, they're just repeating like what they've seen and heard other people complain about, and that's not a real scenario. Like they don't oversell leads. And I see people who are trying to sell leads, and they're like, why we're different from Zillow? We're not going to sell you the same lead multiple times. And I'm like, yeah, well, Zillow doesn't do that either.
I mean, Zillow gets agents hooked up with buyers to go look. I mean, it's very simple. And this is how I do my lead generation, like on Facebook and stuff. If someone's like, hey, I got questions about this house, I'm like, when do you want to see it? That's it.
Yeah.
When do you want to see it? And they're like, oh, this time or this time. Okay, well, I need to set up a call with you first.
Yeah.
And then that's when I find out if they're serious or not.
Yeah.
And that's what Zillow does. It's like they're literally trying to go see a home right now.
Yeah.
And that's why it works. And the other lead platforms don't do that. I don't think.
Well, they don't have the training either. And Zillow also provides like call training. Like you can call an AI platform, and you can choose the difficulty level that you want, and it'll run through different scenarios, and it'll give you a score on how well you did. And you can call it as many times as you want and try to get as much practice as you want to get better at having these and they're going to throw all the different objections at you because they know the objections.
That's cool.
Their training is phenomenal. They don't oversaturate the market, which is why they're able to charge so much, by the way. Most lead companies, if I were to call them up today and say, hey, I have $10,000 I want to give you for some leads. what do you got? And they're like, what areas do you look? And they'll be like, okay, yeah, they'll sell me whatever area I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
I could call Zillow up and say, I got $50,000 I want to spend a month. Where can I spend it? If it's not available, they're gonna say, sorry, we're sold out.
Mm-hmm.
They don't need my 50,000 because they've already sold out of those markets, and they don't want to sell 50,000 to somebody else, because then they'll have to recycle the leads to get anything to them as promised, and then they're competing with each other. One might have success over the other or whatever, but like or there's a chance that none of them have success. And then when you have a bunch of people that are complaining about the program, you have a hard time getting it to be a desirable program. But what Zillow's created is they got a lot of hate for sure, because people just don't like big companies, and Zillow was out to get rid of the agent and take all the commissions. Now they're working with the agent. A lot of people don't realize that, and maybe they still eventually. I mean, they're a big company who you don't want to. They have a ton of control over the industry for sure.
Well, there's a lot of
competition though.
There's a lot of builders I drive by already, and it's like scan me for a walkthrough like right now.
Yeah.
So buyers are able to literally go up to that door, scan it, and get in.
Yeah.
I should actually go. I should have done it
just to see and test it out.
Yeah. That's interesting, but I think really in the end is in what the system you brought me into when I got into real estate was. And I don't know what the outcome would have been if I'd have started with Zillow. If that would have been like your approach, like, hey man, sign up with Zillow. Like, I don't know what that would look like, but what I do know is that, in what we want for our agents, we want to build independence. So like if their wife has a job, or husband, whoever gets a job in a different state, and you're like, well, I'm a realtor and I've just built this business and I'm making $100,000-$300,000 a year, but they're wanting me to move to Colorado, you should be able to go there and start generating income immediately.
Yeah.
Connecting with other agents, doing the open houses, the for sale by owners, the expires, maybe sign up for a Zillow Flex on there, like whatever you need to do. Like that's what you want to do. Once you can do that and know how to lead generate, then you can really just do anything you want.
Well, I mean, I know some people that they have no intention of ever even trying to lead Zillow, and like they have success and they love it and they thrive in it, and it's like, okay, I'm not going to try to tell you should don't give your commission away and try to get out of it, because if that's what they want to do and that's where they thrive and they've built a good business around it, then more power to you. You found something for that.
That's up to you, sure.
For that agent, and that goes back to what I'm saying is like, there's not a copy and paste formula that we should be putting every agent into. Some agents, that's where they're going to thrive and how they're going to make their business, and that's how they want to make their business. I guess my comments were more towards like, just be careful because you'll eventually burn out. But not if that's where you thrive and what you desire. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if it makes it easy for you, I guess.
And that's what the point is, like trying to figure out, okay, who's gonna burn out from this, and who actually thrives in this and is gonna keep doing it. Now you could build that into your own internal business model. We have an agent who has done it. Like they have turned Zillow leads into a massive business organization where now they're teaching other people how to do it. Mm-hmm. And so there's so many ways to make money in real estate. And so as a mentor, it's how do you guide them to back to their strengths, and not into a direction that just because that's what we think as mentors. Yeah. And that's something that, it's hard for people to learn, and it's something I still have to consider when I'm meeting with people. But man, whenever I've helped somebody find that path, and if it's different than mine, but they make it, it's like, man, it's really cool. It's a really cool feeling. So
yeah, I think if I move states tomorrow, I would probably, I think I would 100% join Zillow.
Would you?
Yeah, probably because I would be showing houses immediately.
Yeah.
And I have the skill set to maximize the crap out of that.
I know that if I got on a plane and got dropped off anywhere in the United States, that I could sell real estate no matter what with zero network. And that's what we want people to feel confident in doing, whether I join Zillow or not.
I would probably spend 10 hours a day trying to meet new people.
Sure.
Meet new agents, lenders. I mean, anything. Just I'd be out making connections.
Yeah. And
so.
you've run into people sometimes too.
And then you get lucky
Yep.
because you're out.
Yep.
That's right.
All right.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you guys listening and watching our podcast. It was a fun one. If you guys like what you saw or heard, like, comment, subscribe, click the bell for future notifications. And we are signing off. I'm Casey Tuter, and this is Curtis Haddock, and we have no message.